Monday. It's time for this week's new, fresh Take Control Talk. I hope you enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed it. And also, feel free to reach out to your friends if you feel that this is something that they would like. You can always encourage them to sign up. They'll get 30 days free and see if they like it as much as you've liked it. So now, sit back, relax, and get ready to take control of your health naturally. Today we're going to talk about nutrition and specifically about calories. Now, I know a lot of people have kind of a love-hate relationship with food and therefore with calories, thinking that calories can be bad. I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, I have to stay away from calories, or I hate calories. But really, a calorie is just a unit of measurement for energy. So a calorie isn't really good or bad any more than inches on a ruler are good or bad, or meters or grams or any other unit of measurement. It's just a way for us to measure energy. So I think more accurately, what people say they hate is weight gain that comes from eating too many calories and not using up that energy to burn it. So we're going to talk today about where calories come from. So we hear a lot of times the words macronutrients and micronutrients. So macronutrients are basically carbs, proteins, and fats. They're kind of the three categories where all of the micronutrients fall. But as far as where calories come from, there's really only 4 places where you can consume calories. And that's our 3 macronutrient areas: carbs, proteins, and fats. But it also includes alcohol. Now, a lot of people think that alcohol is just carbs, just straight carbs. But it's important to understand that alcohol is in a calorie class all its own. It metabolizes completely differently from fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Now, within an alcoholic beverage, you certainly are going to have carbs, but that's not the only calorie type that we're dealing with when we talk about alcohol. So the first category I want to talk about is carbs. Now, carbs kind of get a bad rap, especially lately with the paleo diets and the all of the really extremely low-carb ketogenic diets. They kind of get a bad rap. But I personally am a fan of carbohydrates. There's a lot of great foods that are considered your carb foods or your higher carb foods that really provide you a lot of nutrition, fiber, really good vitamins and minerals. So I personally don't like to eliminate carbs from the diet. However, I do subscribe to a lower carbohydrate diet. Now, depending on which nutritionist you ask, you could get low carbohydrate to mean any number of things. It could mean 10%, 20%, 30%. So the area that I like to kind of fall in is that 25 to 35% of carbohydrates. That sort of follows along the guidelines for the Zone diet, and I feel it's just a really healthy balance. So the places that you get carbohydrates are from grains, starchy vegetables like your potatoes, fruits, regular sugar, and fiber. A lot of people don't realize that fiber is actually carbohydrate. So fiber is extremely important for a healthy diet, and so that falls under the category of carbohydrates. The second category that we want to talk about is protein. So most of us know that meat is kind of the main protein source that we think of. But there's also a lot of other places that we can get protein. Beans and legumes, eggs, dairy, green veggies can have a lot of protein, especially by weight, if you categorize it by weight. and they're a wonderful source of protein. So going back to kind of the ratio, how much protein should we get in our diet? Again, that just depends on which theology you're going to adhere to. But me personally, I feel like 30 to 35% of your total calories should come from protein. Again, that's kind of based on the zone diet. It's just a really good balance, and you're able to eat those foods that give you the protein, so you're getting all of your amino acids, which are really important, and you're getting foods that bring a lot of other nutrients like iron and B vitamins. So protein is a really important macronutrient that we need to get. And then our third category is fats. And again, fats have really taken a hit, especially in the 80s. Everything was against fat in your diet. I mean, people were doing absolutely everything they could to eliminate fat. But what we now know, and what some people have known all along, is that fat is very, very important for a healthy diet. For skin, for your brain, for your heart, really important. And as you see, I've listed it as 30 to 35% of your calories should come from fat. So that sounds really high to some people, and to others it sounds just about right. But of course, we want to get our fat from good sources. So in fairness to the anti-fat people, they were trying to do a good thing, but they were trying to attack the unhealthy fats, the trans fats, which are something nobody's body needs. But in that, our good fats really got lost. So it's important to consume things like fish, nuts and seeds, animal fat, fruit oils like olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado, and dairy fat and ghee coming from dairy as well. A big question I get asked a lot is, are all calories equal? Is a calorie is a calorie? If I eat 2,000 calories worth of gummy bears, is it the same as 2,000 calories worth of salad? And the answer, of course, is a big resounding no. If you eat an apple that's 100 calories, your body is going to respond so differently than if you drink a soda that's 100 calories. The reason is because there are different vitamins and nutrients in a whole food like an apple. You're getting fiber, like we talked about earlier. You're getting tons of vitamins, tons of minerals, tons of nutrients. And that fiber is actually going to help your body slow down the metabolism of the sugar that's in it. And you take a soda, for example, and it's pretty much pure sugar, even though it's 100 calories of it. Pure sugar, there's nothing to really anchor that sugar. There's no protein, there's no fiber, you're getting absolutely no nutritional value. So your body is going to burn through that really, really quickly, and then your body's going to have to produce a bunch of insulin to come and try to clean up all of that sugar, and that, of course, can lead to insulin resistance, which then in turn can later on lead to type 2 diabetes. But what if we're comparing to whole foods, where we know we're getting nutrients and vitamins and minerals and not an abundance of sugar? Well, here's a picture of 200 calories of apples and 200 calories in cheese. So you can see that is quite a difference in a serving size. So that's something else that we need to kind of keep in mind, is that every food is going to carry a different caloric value. So a little tiny bit of cheese is going to carry a lot more caloric value than an apple. And that's just something you kind of learn as you begin reading labels and doing a little bit of research. Kind of a little tip there is foods that are more fat dense and more protein dense are going to typically carry more calories than your fruits and vegetables. But that's just kind of a fun picture there to see the difference. This is another fun picture, just kind of looking at 400 calories in fat, protein, and kind of a protein carb mix there with the vegetables. But you can see what that looks like in your stomach, and you can get a lot more full if you're eating 400 calories of vegetables versus if it's just coming from protein or fat. Even though fat can be very satiating, it should be coupled with protein and fiber just to give you that balance and really make you full and get you that whole spectrum of the macronutrients that we talked about earlier. Here's an eye-opening picture. If we look at the picture on the left, which is gummy bears, and we look at the picture on the right, which is cashews, we're going to see that difference of what I was talking about earlier, the nutritional value in a food. So it's not just about calories, how many calories are in a food, but really what are you getting from those calories? Because remember, a calorie is a unit of measurement for energy. So we really want to get a good energy value from what we eat. The gummy bears have no protein, no fat, which remember, fat isn't necessarily a bad thing. We need that. And the carbs are straight sugar carbs, so we're not getting any fiber in there to really anchor anything. Whereas the cashews bring us protein, good healthy fats, and carbohydrates, but they're the low glycemic carbohydrates, which again help to prevent insulin resistance. In addition, you can see the myriad of vitamins, minerals, all those great micronutrients that you're going to get from the cashews. And of course, you can see you don't get any of that from the gummy bears. So I really don't like the words bad carbs and good carbs. I prefer empty versus whole. So you can see the gummy bears are empty calories because all we're getting is sugar. And the cashews are whole calories because we're getting our macronutrients plus our micronutrients. Very, very well balanced. Okay, so now that we have a good idea about what we should eat, we need to talk about when we should eat because that's very, very important. Now, you've probably heard people talk about eating 6 meals versus 3 meals, the snacking, eating every 2 to 3 hours. And I personally, from just clinical experience, have seen that people tend to feel better when they eat more frequently and eat smaller meals. They have less indigestion, they have better digestion, they have more energy throughout the day. They don't get those blood sugar spikes and crashes where they get shaky in between meals or then they kind of crash after a meal and need a nap. So personally, I feel like it's very beneficial to kind of spread those calories out throughout the day. However, it is interesting to note that the research behind that really isn't substantiated. Research shows that there's really no significant difference in weight or energy expenditure in people who eat 3 meals a day or 6 meals a day. But what research has shown us is that there are huge benefits to eating regularly. So people that eat at the same time every day and the same number of meals each day have much better time losing weight. They have better glucose levels than people that eat sporadically. One day they are eating once a day, the next day they're eating twice a day, but at random times. So eating regularly definitely is research-based to have tremendous health benefits. So I hope that you've learned a lot today about nutrition. I hope that you can take this with you and begin making some changes in your own life. Thanks so much for joining us in this week's Take Control Talk. We look forward to seeing you again next week.